I was never a man like others. Even as a child, I was different, burdened by a secret that haunted my every waking moment. My life began on the same path as any other, but everything changed on that hot summer night when I was just 9 years old. It was the night I first heard it, the sound that would define me forever. I remember sitting cross-legged on the dusty floor of my parents' cramped apartment, fiddling with the dial of the old valve radio. It was an ancient thing, covered in rust and grime, with buttons that stuck and knobs that squeaked when turned. I wasn't trying to listen to anything in particular. I was simply curious, letting my fingers wander aimlessly across the frequencies. Static, garbled voices, fragments of music, they all blended into a cacophony that filled the room with a sense of dissonance. But then it happened. Amongst the hiss and crackle, a new sound emerged. A hum, a deep, vibrating tone, unlike anything I had ever heard before. It wasn't a song, nor was it human speech. It was something else, something foreign, primal, and haunting. It seemed to resonate deep within me, vibrating in the very core of my being. It felt as though something or someone was trying to communicate directly with me, bypassing all language, all reason. My heart skipped a beat. The air around me grew heavier, as if the very atmosphere was holding its breath. I called out to my parents, my voice shaking, but they didn't hear it. They couldn't. They only scolded me for wasting time on that damn radio. "Stop playing with that thing," my father said, as my mother gave me a stern look. They never understood. They never would. But I understood. I knew that what I had heard was real. It was a calling. Something out there was reaching for me. That moment, sitting on the floor, shivering in the dim light of the apartment, changed me. It set me on a path I couldn't escape. The sound, the hum, lingered in my mind, echoing through the years, never quite leaving me. And so, my obsession began. I became fixated on frequencies, on waves, on energy. I devoured books on electromagnetic radiation, physics, and engineering. But the more I learned, the more frustrated I became. No matter how much I studied, no matter how many experiments I ran, I couldn't replicate the sound I'd heard. It was as if it existed beyond the realm of known science. But I couldn't let it go. My obsession grew, gnawing at me. It was like a hole in my mind, a void that only the answers could fill. In my adult years, I became a respected scientist. I was a genius, they called me. But no accolades, no awards could quell the gnawing curiosity that drove me to the brink of madness. I built machines, developed equipment, even created my own antenna to listen to signals from deep space. Still, nothing came close to what I had heard. The hum was gone, replaced by only silence. A silence that mocked me. But then one night, it happened again. I had been working in my lab for hours, the hum of the machines around me barely a whisper against the buzz of my thoughts. My hands were numb, my eyes burning from lack of sleep, but I didn't care. I was close, so close. I had finally built the receiver that could capture the deep frequencies I had been chasing for so long. And that night, as I made the final adjustments, I heard it. It was faint at first, barely perceptible, but it was there. The hum, that deep, resonant tone. But this time it was different. It wasn't just a sound, it was a message. The words that came through the static were incomprehensible at first. They twisted and morphed, pulsing in my mind with a rhythm I couldn't understand. They vibrated, not in my ears, but in the very fabric of my being. It was as if the message was trying to break through, to be understood. And somehow, inexplicably, I understood it. In flashes, like a rapid stream of consciousness, I saw blueprints, schematics, designs for something vast, something beyond anything I had ever imagined. I had to build it. I had no choice. The message had come, and it was clear I was meant to create it. I couldn't explain why, but in my soul, I felt the compulsion, the urgency, the fear. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and still, I worked. The device I built was monstrous, a thing of twisted metal and cables that pulsed with an unnatural energy. I couldn't explain how it worked, only that it did. There was a sense of inevitability about it, as if this moment had been predestined. My mind had become consumed by it, my body a shell for the singular purpose of bringing this machine to life. The night I finally activated it, I knew I was crossing a line that could never be undone. The air around me shimmered, as if reality itself were distorting. A pale, sickly light emanated from the heart of the device, and the hum from my childhood returned. But this time, it wasn't just a sound. It was an invitation, a gateway. And then it happened. The thing I had unleashed was not something I could describe in words. It had no form, no shape. It was not human, not even alien. It was something older, something beyond understanding. I could feel its presence, its power, its infinite malice. It tore through the very fabric of the world, and as it did, it left nothing but a gaping void in its wake. The walls of the lab seemed to bend and collapse in on themselves. My vision blurred, and I fell to my knees, overwhelmed by a terror so intense that I thought my heart would burst. And then it was gone. The silence was deafening. I looked around, dazed, my body trembling. The machine was destroyed. The thing was gone. But where? What had I done? What had I opened? Days passed, and the weight of what I had done crushed me. I couldn't escape it. The visions, the memories. I saw flashes of the thing, a shadow in the corner of my eye, a flicker in the corner of my mind. I thought I was losing my sanity. The only escape seemed to be to end it all, to make it stop. But even that felt like surrender. And then he came. The man appeared out of nowhere, like a shadow in the dark. His suit was impeccable, his demeanor cold, almost mechanical. He didn't introduce himself immediately. He didn't need to. He simply approached me as I stood, gun in hand, ready to end my misery. "Dr. Alfred Hux," he said in a voice that sent a shiver down my spine. "I know what you've done." I froze, staring at him, my breath caught in my throat. "Who are you? How did you get in here?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He ignored my questions, stepping closer, his gaze intense. "Few would have the courage to do what you've done," he said. "Fewer still would survive it." The words hit me like a blow. He knew. He understood. I released something, I whispered, my voice shaking. Something that shouldn't exist. He nodded, his expression unreadable. But there was no judgment in his eyes. Only something else, something almost admiring. "You were deceived, but you were also chosen. What you set free is out there now, and we need to contain it. You caused this, Dr. Hux, but you can help solve it." I struggled to understand, my mind reeling. "Who are you? What do you want from me?" Finally, the man smiled, but it was cold. There was no warmth in it, only a chilling certainty. "My name is Dr. Abyss, and I've come to recruit you. We're in a war, Dr. Hux, a war that most people don't even know exists. But you do. You saw, you felt it, and now you have a purpose." I still gripped the gun, but my hand trembled. I didn't know if I should trust him, but his words were magnetic. He had the answers I'd been searching for. A war against what? Who are you? Dr. Abyss took a step back, moving toward the door. Before he left, he turned and looked over his shoulder. "You'll find out soon enough. Welcome to the Purple Lagoon."